Commutify presents Between the Lines with Andy Keaton. Each week, we explore the challenging issues transportation demand management professionals face on their journey to transition commuters from driving alone to more sustainable, shared, and active commuting habits. Be sure to subscribe to hear next week's episode and check out our exclusive commuter playlists on Spotify. This is Between the Lines with Andy Keaton.
Hi everyone, and welcome aboard to this week's Between the Lines episode. I'm Andy Keaton, and this week and next week, we're doing something a little bit fun for the holidays. We're looking back at our first year of Between the Lines and an incredibly successful 2021 with over 30 interesting guests talking about different aspects of transportation demand management, or TDM. And we're going to just be looking back at the best moments of each episode. So enjoy this week and make sure to come back next week for even more of 2021.
We are joined by Joey Sherlock. Joey is an applied behavioral researcher at the Center for Advanced Hindsight. He's currently on an extended sabbatical from central government in the UK, where he is a principal behavioral scientist with HM Revenue and Customs. At the center, he leads the government team, which focuses on using behavioral science to bring innovation into civic society, and has programs with funds totaling over $2 million. Joey has run more than 50 randomized controlled trials with governments across the world and has a wealth of experience applying behavioral science and human-centered design to difficult behavioral challenges in a wide range of fields, including sustainability and transportation. And today, Joey's going to be talking to us about why behavioral TDM is going to save the planet. Joey, glad to have you on. How are you doing today?
Thank you. It's really, really great to be here.
For our listeners, for our viewers, in your own words, just briefly, can you kind of summarize all of this and tell us why will behavioral TDM save the planet?
Behavioral TDM will help us save the planet because it will get us there one small baby step at a time. Applying behavioral science and human-centered design as an approach to innovation will help us come up with cool things that hopefully work, have a good chance of working. And then testing those ideas using rigorous methods, strong evaluation, usually relying on RCTs, will help us show whether or not these ideas work. If they don't work, we'll kill them. If they do work, we'll look to test them again and hopefully scale them so that over time, piece by piece, baby step by baby step, we can develop, innovate, test, and change the world.
Today, we're talking with a really special guest, Jessica Alba. She's a transportation policy manager at Stanford University, and she's the chair of the ACT Certification Board of Trustees overseeing the TDM-CP program. That's what we're talking about today. Jessica joined Stanford University as an internal and external liaison on transportation policy matters in 2017. Prior to Stanford, she was a planner and principal at Nelson Nygaard Consulting Associates and Trivector Traffic, two thought leaders on transportation solutions that put people first. Jessica studied earth and environmental sciences at Lund University in Sweden in the 90s and moved to the San Francisco Bay Area in 2004. With a strong foundation centered on sustainability, she merged her academic knowledge with a love for vibrant communities. Over the past 2 decades, she has consulted and advised on hundreds of projects and policy efforts in the sustainable and emerging mobility realm. We're really excited to have you on today, Jessica. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
In a couple sentences here, why do you think the TDM-CP program is going to help save the planet?
Yeah. Like I started off in the beginning, we can't build our way out of congestion. We've tried that for decades. We need to manage demand and we need to utilize our existing infrastructure much, much better. Again, like I said in the beginning as well, we can always invest in transit, walk and bike, and other infrastructure as well, but not necessarily sitting stuck in traffic in your own car. So I do think the TDM profession is on the way up. I think we will see a lot more people transition into this field and feel the need to become certified professionals, as this is more recognized and included as a criteria in bidding processes, etc. And then, yeah, I think I want to stop there. I do. It's more the solidification of the profession that is happening right now it's just a really, really strong sign that so much of the technology advancements that are happening as well, they're so related to making more efficient use of our existing infrastructure. So TDM is not going away. TDM-CP is just going to get stronger thanks to all of the members who are investing their time and making the program stronger and stronger.
This episode, we are talking to Tom Kipps. Tom is the head of B2B at Van Moof, an Amsterdam-based e-bike company taking the world by storm. I'm really excited to be talking with Tom today. Tom sent me over his bio. I really liked what Tom sent me over for his bio because it was short and sweet, just like this podcast. Really liked it. So he says, growing up in different parts of the world, he's always had an interest in international business, and at Van Moof, he's globally responsible for getting people riding through partnerships with the world's coolest companies. So we're going to be talking today with Tom about this mission, about everything he's been doing. Why will e-bikes save the planet? Why are they such a great solution for the TDM industry?
Oh, wow. In one sentence, right? So I think the numbers speak for themselves. I think the e-bike industry is set to grow to, I think, 46 billion US dollars by 2026. So this train has already left the station. Everybody is loving e-bikes from older people to younger people. And as I said, it's I cannot think of a better alternative to move around cities. So let's just not use cars in cities anymore, and we can reduce about 50% of our carbon emissions right there. Easy.
This episode, we've got a really special guest with us. We're talking with Lauren Isaac. Lauren is the Director of Business Initiatives at EasyMile, a company specializing in autonomous vehicle technology and smart mobility solutions. And prior to EasyMile, Lauren worked at WSP, where she was involved in various projects involving advanced technologies that can improve mobility in cities. Lauren wrote a guide titled Driverless, or Driving Towards Driverless, a guide for government agencies regarding how local and regional governments should respond to autonomous vehicles in the short, medium, and long term. And in addition to that, she also maintains the blog Driving Towards Driverless and has presented on this topic at many industry conferences, including a recent TEDx talk, and has been published in Forbes and the Chicago Tribune, among other publications. So obviously an expert here in the autonomous field, and we're really excited to have you on today, Lauren. And today, as you probably could expect, we're talking about driverless vehicles, but specifically we're talking about driverless shuttles and why they will save the planet. Lauren, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
In a couple of sentences, why do you think driverless shuttles are going to save the planet?
I think that driverless shuttles are going to make our roadways safer. I think they have the potential to reduce greenhouse gas emissions significantly since they are electric. And what's most exciting is they're going to improve mobility and provide access to mobility to a far greater group of people just because they have reduced costs, they are accessible, and they can be deployed as soon as today in very specific use cases. So I think as long as we acknowledge all the great things they can do and put them in a place where they can be operated successfully, we are going to be better off. And it's going to be super exciting to see the more things they can do over time.
This week, we're talking with Bobby Lauder-Young. Bobby is the Sustainable Commute Director at Bus Up. It's a global provider of shared shuttle programs that reconstruct the traditional business model to reduce costs while enhancing flexibility and efficiency. Bobby's also the founder of Streamline Sustainable Mobility, an advisor to multiple mobility companies, including Commute and Fleet Labs, and was recently elected as communications chair of the Young Professionals in Transportation. And in 2020, Bobby was recognized for all of this great work as a recipient of ACT's 40 Under 40 Award. And that's not all. Bobby's got a great resume here. Prior to Bus Up, Bobby also worked at Ford Motor Company's microtransit company Chariot, and before before starting here as well, he was the co-founder of Beeline Mobility. So, Bobby, we're super excited to have you on board, and you're bringing a wealth of knowledge. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Andy, and thanks to the Commutify team. Happy to be here.
So tell me, Bobby, in your own words, in just a couple sentences, why will electric shuttles, and more importantly, why will electric shuttle preparedness, we'll call it, save the planet?
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it? There's so much news and buzz around electric vehicles that it feels like there's a lot of hype around how converting to electric vehicles is going to save the planet, but the answer is that it will not. Whether you go out and you buy a Tesla instead of a gas guzzler of some kind, that's going to have an impact, yes. But getting out of one car and getting into another is not going to solve our problem, because while you have a more efficient car, you still have a car. We need to be moving towards shared modes, shared sustainable transportation, which I know Commutify is a really big fan of. I'm a really big fan of. I know the whole Bus Up team is living by that. And so I think that the goal here, Andy, is to understand that holistic pie that we talked about in the beginning of the call. What are the biggest contributing factors to this piece of pie that we can make an impact on today? And when we look at that 40% globally, emissions are coming from transportation, and here in the US, 29% of our emissions coming from transportation. This is a significant enough place to focus our time. But let's be clear, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be rinsing and recycling your plastics. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing this or that. It's a holistic approach, but converting shared transportation, particularly for corporate companies, business parks, hospitals, things like that, to EV will attract riders, grow ridership, reduce drive-alone rates, and hopefully reduce emissions, all while saving the client money. So very much looking forward to these next couple of years. I think there's some exciting times ahead.
We're excited to bring a really interesting conversation to you today with Joan Lyons. Joan is the Planning and TDM Projects Manager at Boulder Transportation Connections and Boulder Chamber, which is the City of Boulder's Transportation Management Association, or TMA. A little hint at what we'll be talking about. With a master's in urban development and management from Erasmus University Rotterdam in the Netherlands, super cool, she strives to think of the bigger picture and how policy and planning impact our world. Outside of her work in transportation planning, Joan has previously engaged in consulting work for Colorado water planning issues and has contributed to Harvard Graduate School of Design research on the Just City concept. She currently serves on the RTD Citizens Advisory Committee and Boulder B-Cycle Board, and is an American Planning Association Colorado board member. And outside of work, you'll find Joan volunteering, running, skiing, or doing yoga. We were just talking about a little while ago how you get up at 5 a.m. every day to run. I applaud you. And we'll talk about some cool playlists and music and stuff as well later on. But today we're excited to have you on. Thank you for being on today, Joan.
Yes, and thank you, Andy, and the Commutify team for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this topic. It's one that's very near and dear to my heart, even outside of work. So
cool. And might as well just jump right in. So why will TMAs help save the planet?
Yes, and I think that this is the best question. And I think TMAs help elevate awareness of transportation choice in a community. People find us where they are looking for transit and transportation issues and look to TMAs to alleviate their daily commute concerns. But we also help solve long-term transportation problems in a community. We are the best interconnected resource, I know I've said this already, to everything that exists in an individual community. And individual communities in and of itself will help save the planet if they make different choices in their commute patterns. I also like to say that in food choices, we could go on and on, right? But
Sure.
transportation choices are one of the biggest ways that we can solve a lot of different issues that our planet is facing today, more particularly around greenhouse gases, carbon emissions, all of those types of things. So that is why TMAs can solve all the world and planet's problems.
Great answer. So today we're talking with Mark Melnick. He is the manager of transportation operations for Starbucks, and is responsible for delivering programming that meets the evolving needs of their commuter population. He has over 20 years of experience in TDM, focusing on developing innovative strategies that positively change commute behavior. And before joining Starbucks, Mark worked for Heinz on the Amazon account, implementing programs across North America. And he also has had previous stops that include the Seattle Department of Transportation, or SDOT, where he develops performance targets for large employers. I think we might be talking a bit about some of the work he's been doing there, as well as with Swedish Hospital, where he actually helped them achieve their regulatory obligations for the first time in 30 years. I like that in your bio. That's a nice stat. I like to hear it. Also, one of my favorite fun facts about Mark is that he's a member of the Washington State Department of Transportation's Wall of Fame for his trip reduction work with employers. Going back to some of the other conversations we've had about commute trip reduction programs, he's the master of all of that. And he's currently the chair of the Association for Commuter Transportation, or ACT's Employer Council, and also a recipient of their 40 Under 40 award. So, I mean, it goes without saying, we're really excited to have you on today, Mark.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Andy. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Can you tell us in just a couple of sentences why this approach, why the commuter is going to help save the planet?
Yeah, absolutely. This approach is going to help save the planet, because this is going to help the individuals that need to make those changes that will save the planet make those changes. So I'm not going to save the planet on my own, but hopefully a number of people, or a lot of people, or everyone out there who make collective decisions to about how they're going to get to and from work will have a positive impact. You know, we're not talking about everyone giving everything up that they've used to do, or switching from driving to biking. This is about collective accomplishments of individual choices. So really making meaningful change by gaining on the margins, and then as a whole, we can make that change that we need to see. So really, that's why you want to focus on the commuter, and the only way you're going to get the commuter to do anything is if you start listening to them and giving programs that they want.
Well, that's the first part of our episode of Between the Lines, looking back at 2021 and what a successful year it's been, and just an incredibly interesting group of people I've had the pleasure of talking to. As always, remember to subscribe to Between the Lines, to our email list at betweenthelines.io, to be informed of what we're doing next year. There's going to be even more interesting guests and more fun things to come. And give us a like, a follow, a rating, whatever you can, wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you haven't yet, make sure you check out the video. This one and next week are really good opportunities for sure to check out the video and see what it's like to actually kind of be in the room with us as we talk about TDM. You can find that video as well at betweenthelines.io. Well, we'll see you again next week for our second part in our two-part series, looking back on 2021.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Between the Lines with Andy Keaton. Be sure to subscribe to hear next week's episode, and check out our exclusive commuter playlists on Spotify.